basic building block of everything. We are all connected through that, right? And I do truly believe that our every single action, word, and belief impacts the people around us.
Hey Tribe, Stephanie Dixon here for Green is the New Black TV, your guide to conscious living in Asia. Today we are shooting in sunny Singapore with Ren and Devonne from Matter. We have the co-founder of Matter and also the digital marketing manager. Guys, thank you so much for having us in your beautiful showroom.
Thank you. We're happy to be here.
Yeah, so Ren, I'd love for you to walk us through what was it that actually sparked inside of you to create your own label?
My main driving force was always to create a business that reflected the change I wanted to see in the world. So for me, it's about how can business be a force for good? And I think having a business embody the values that I believe in, because business essentially shapes behavior. So if you can embody the values and the change you want to see in your business, you are basically creating a movement.
I love that you talk about it's a journey. And secondly, I love that you talked about the shaping of the brand and your values. So for you, when you started, it was really important to care about not only how, but who was involved and really make that matter, which is, I guess, why you're also called Matter. So tell me why that was important, why those values were key to you.
I think it's probably related to my worldview. And the other reason we're called Matter is because Matter is the basic building block of everything. We're all connected through that, right? And I do truly believe that our every single action, word, and belief impacts the people around us, as well as those near and far that we do and do not see.
I think that's really beautiful, and I think we're finding more and more people are really caring about this. And I know one of the key things that you want to inspire is this idea of Providence. So maybe, Devonne, you can kind of unpack what that really means and how you guys really implement that with your customers.
Providence it's more than just something created just so that we can use it. It's also about everything that goes through every single thought process, every single reasoning, and just sharing that with everyone.
So I'd love to understand as well, your online community is a global one, which is incredible for a wonderful brand that was homegrown in Singapore and it's only been around for, I think it's three years now. So how have you grown that community?
I would say that a lot of people think about the digital experience as something new or something different, but that's not actually completely true, because behind that screen, it's another person trying to understand.
Yeah, and I think that's really powerful. And so I'd love to understand a little bit about how you've actually seen people's mindsets shift through this, the consciousness, through the social aspects, environmental aspects, over the last couple of years.
The activist mentality of before environmentalism or sustainability was a lot more about guilt tripping in a way, and I think changing individual behavior through that is not it can be good, but in the longer term it's much better to celebrate the good. And that's a piece of advice that I think I got when I first started.
I'd love to also understand a little bit more about how, what are some of the crazy things you've discovered, or one of the weirdest things or the most wonderful things that you've kind of learned, both of you, along this journey.
I think for me, we recently came across the video, I think it was a couple months ago, of this guy on the street, of a shopping street, and he piled up clothes. And I don't know if you saw it, but I think it was at least 3 meters high. And he stood on that pile of clothes and he said, "This is how much clothes our city threw away in one day." And you get a lot of numbers, you're like, oh, fashion is the second biggest polluter. You get how many percentage of this we throw away. But seeing that humongous pile of clothes, you think, you're like, do I really contribute in that? Do I really throw away that many clothes? And it questions every decision you make. And just seeing that visualize and seeing how that became a trend and more cities were doing that was just very amazing for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And what about you?
Besides the waste, one stat that really shocked me was how 20% of industrial water pollution comes from the textile industry, comes from color dyes, comes from, runoffs. And if you think about the fact that, the earth is majority water and how much we depend on it and how many countries are experiencing water shortages, this is a huge factor.
Absolutely. And so I think you talked about waste, you talk about the water waste and the dyes. So how is Matter tackling these issues that you were really, that had a profound impact when you realized that actually this is what's happening? So how did you kind of implement that into your processes?
In the beginning, I think we focused mainly from when the textile comes to when it's shipped to customer. And now we're starting to consider when the textile is printed, then when it's cut, for example. So we employ zero waste pattern making, where we try and actually design and construct the garment so that very little offcuts or fabric waste is created. Second, we then use that fabric offcuts to create smaller items that we then either give away or reuse. So there's also after garment, so now we're looking also at packaging. So I think it's about understanding the entire production chain and like value life cycle of your product and see how you can close it.
Yeah. And you were sharing as well before about now you're looking at more eco dyes. So walk us through that.
We recently worked with a partner that works with natural dye, and so essentially everything comes from a plant. There's no chemicals involved. It's mixed, and then you get different hues.
So one of our favorite questions to ask is, what would Mother Nature say if she could speak right now?
I think for me, what I think she would say is, guys, there's only so much I can do.
I think she would be shocked. I think she would be like, you guys need to slow down and think about what you're doing.
Absolutely. So what are some little green steps that our audience can take to really consume and be more mindful about their choices?
I think to start off with, you need to figure out what you care about. And we hear that all the time. But what that really breaks down is craft more important to you? Or is organic cotton more important to you? Or do you care more about dyes? I mean, it goes to like what you care about and the way that you're brought up or what's closest to you, just to pick something even so that it works with you and works with your lifestyle.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think in June this year, we had like a challenge, like a sustainability challenge. We watched True Cost together as a team, and then we each picked one thing to work on. And there were a few things that came up that were really easy to implement and I think super interesting. So there's so many things that I think just picking one and sticking to it and knowing how and why you care about it, like Dev says, that's actually the most sustainable way.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it changes your habits.
Yeah, and I think once they've changed a habit, it's so much easier to then implement something else and try something else out and stick to that. And that is why little green steps are so important, everyone. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. I hope you learned something today so you can live more consciously tomorrow.